When I stepped into this place today, I did not just see a stadium. I saw a living heartbeat of a nation. I felt the rhythm of the land itself, the same land that carried our ancestors, the same soil that has absorbed both their sweat and their sacrifices. I looked around and saw colors that were not just painted on fabric, but etched into the soul of our people. The red, for the blood that has been spilled in defense of our dignity. The green, for the hope that no hardship could destroy. The gold, for the promise of a future we will not surrender. The air was alive, yet still gentle in its own way, as if it understood the weight of this day. There was a quiet power in the way people moved, a patience in the way they took their seats. No pushing, no chaos, no noise for the sake of noise. Only anticipation, the kind that settles deep in your chest, the kind that makes the hairs on your arms stand without you realizing it. As I walked across the field, I imagined the footsteps that had crossed this ground before. The children who once played here when there was nothing but dust. The workers who laid each brick, each stone, under the heat of the African sun. The visionaries who believed that one day this place could be more than a dream. This is not just steel and concrete. It is the story of our will. And I thought to myself, how many times has the world doubted us? How many times have they told us, in whispers or in declarations, that we could not build something of this scale? That Africa should remain a consumer of other people's greatness and never a creator of its own. Yet here we stand, surrounded by proof that their doubts are nothing but the echoes of a dying order. I saw families holding hands, fathers lifting children onto their shoulders so they could see better. I saw elders dressed in traditional cloth, their eyes scanning the stadium not with skepticism, but with pride. And in the faces of the youth, I saw something that cannot be bought. I saw belief. Belief that our future does not have to be imported. Belief that what we build here, with our own hands, can stand equal to anything built anywhere in the world. This is the feeling I wish I could bottle and pour into the heart of every African child. This quiet but unshakable pride. This knowledge that we are not here by accident and we are not here by permission. We are here because we have chosen to rise, and once a people choose to rise, there is no force on earth that can make them kneel again. They say a nation's strength is measured in its wealth, its weapons, or its technology. But I tell you today, the true measure of a nation's strength is its people, their unity, their courage, and their belief in their own destiny. When I look at this crowd, I see more than faces. I see an unbroken chain, linking generations who never stop believing in the promise of this land. From the farmers who rise before the sun to work the fields, to the artisans whose hands carve beauty out of raw earth, to the young students who stay up late at night, studying by the dim light of a single bulb. Every single one of you is part of this chain, and every link matters. For too long, they have told us that progress must come from outside, that our salvation would arrive in the form of foreign aid, foreign advisors, foreign blueprints. But every time we accepted their version of progress, we gave away a piece of our sovereignty. Every time we let them define our goals, we lost a piece of our identity. I am here to tell you, we will no longer live on borrowed dreams. We will no longer be the testing ground for ideas that were never meant to serve us. Our development will not be dictated from conference rooms in distant capitals. It will be shaped here, on African soil, by African minds, for African people. Unity is not a slogan. It is not something we chant when the cameras are rolling and forget when the microphones are turned off. Unity is a discipline. It is the daily decision to put the good of the nation above personal gain. It is refusing to be divided by tribe, by religion, by language, because the divisions they exploit are the chains they use to control us. When a lion hunts, it does not stop halfway because the gazelle is too fast. It does not argue with the other lions about who will get the first bite. It moves with one mind, one purpose. That is how we must move as a people. For when we act together, we are not just a nation, we are a force. And forces do not beg. They do not wait for permission. They shape the world around them. I see in our youth the fire that cannot be extinguished. I see in our elders the wisdom that cannot be bought. I see in our women the strength that has carried this nation through every drought, every famine, every storm. And I tell you now, if we stand together, there is no empire, no corporation, no army that can keep us from the destiny that belongs to us. They will try to tell you that sovereignty is a luxury, that it is something only powerful nations can afford. They will whisper that we must first become strong before we dare to stand on our own. But I ask you, how does a child learn to walk if it never lets go of the hand holding it back? How does a nation become strong if it never has the courage to rely on itself? Sovereignty is not given, it is taken. It is earned through sacrifice, through discipline, and through the unshakable belief that our fate is ours to shape. Every nation that stands tall today once stood where we stand now, faced with doubt, threatened by those who feared its rise. They overcame not because they were handed freedom, but because they seized it, guarded it, and refused to surrender it, no matter the cost. Our enemies do not fear our resources. They fear our unity. They fear our minds when they are free from propaganda. They fear our hands when they work for our own future and not for theirs. They fear our dreams when they are not limited by the boundaries they drew on our maps. And so they try to keep us dependent. They offer loans that come with chains. They offer partnerships that come with conditions. They speak of friendship, but behind closed doors they speak of how to keep us small. This is the oldest trick of empires, to convince the oppressed that their oppressor is their savior. But we are not blind anymore. We have seen the price of dependency. We have seen the way they strip the land of its riches and leave its people in poverty. We have seen how they teach our children to admire their culture while forgetting their own. We have seen how they plant leaders who bow to foreign powers while standing over their own people. This is why sovereignty matters, because without it, we are a shadow of ourselves, a nation that exists on paper but not in spirit. With it, we are whole. We can make mistakes, but they will be our mistakes to learn from. We can chart our own path, even if it is difficult, because it will lead to a destination we chose. Sovereignty means the right to feed ourselves from our own soil, to defend ourselves with our own strength, to speak in our own voice without fear of being silenced. It means the power to say no when no is the only answer that protects our dignity. And so I tell you, we will not trade our sovereignty for aid, for applause, or for the empty promises of those who never wished us well. We will walk on our own feet. We will carry our own burdens. And when we rise, it will be because we lifted ourselves together. They will say we are too small to matter. They will say our population is too little, our economy too fragile, our military too modest. They will say we cannot stand against giants. But history is filled with the victories of the so, called weak over the so, called strong. The truth is, no empire falls because it meets a bigger empire. Empires fall because the will of the people they oppress becomes unbreakable. They fall because the smallest flame, guarded by many hands, grows into a fire that cannot be put out. We are that fire, and it is time we burn away the chains that have held us down for generations. Look around you. Who will save us, if not ourselves? Do you think the powers that exploit our land will one day wake up and decide to give it back? Do you think those who profit from our suffering will voluntarily end their feast? No. They will stop only when they are forced to stop. They will retreat only when they know we are prepared to stand until the very end. This is why I say our struggle is not for the faint-hearted. It is not for those who wish for freedom, but fear the cost. Every generation must decide whether to be the guardians of their homeland or the witnesses of its betrayal. Our choice is clear. We will reclaim our economy, not in speeches alone, but in action. We will build industries that serve our people, not foreign shareholders. We will till our own fields and keep our harvests for our children, not for ships that sail across the ocean. We will train our youth not just in the knowledge of books, but in the knowledge of building, defending, and leading. But know this, unity will be tested. The enemy will not always come wearing a uniform. Sometimes they will come in the form of our own brothers and sisters who have sold their loyalty for coins. They will come with smiles, offering deals and promises that glitter in the short term, but rot in the long term. They will try to divide us along lines of tribe, region, religion, and language. That is why our greatest weapon is not only courage, it is discipline. The discipline to resist greed, the discipline to put the nation before the self, the discipline to remain united even when the enemy whispers in our ears. So I say to every farmer, every worker, every soldier, every student, your role is not small. You are the guardians of a dream bigger than yourself. Stand your ground, strengthen your brothers. Guard the flame, because if we move as one, there is no force on earth that can extinguish us. I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine the Africa we will build. Not the Africa they show on their television screens, not the Africa they write about in their reports, but the Africa that lives in our hearts. Proud, sovereign, and unshakable. I see cities built by African hands, lit by African energy, powered by African resources. I see roads that connect our people, not to serve the flow of foreign extraction, but to unite our markets, our ideas, our destinies. I see schools where children learn the history of their ancestors with pride, not shame, where they are taught to walk tall, to dream boldly, to build without asking permission. I see farmers whose harvests stay in their villages, feeding their own children first before filling the pockets of any outsider. I see hospitals equipped, not because a donor gave charity, but because our own industries produce the tools, the medicine, the technology. I see scientists in African laboratories creating solutions for African problems and exporting our knowledge to the world. This is the Africa they told us was impossible. But it is only impossible if we keep living inside the limits they drew for us. They have taught us to measure ourselves against their standards as if we were children seeking approval. I say, no more. We will write our own standards. But understand this, the Africa I speak of will not be built by speeches or dreams alone. It will be built by the hard work of millions, each knowing their labor is part of a greater purpose. It will require us to protect our resources with the same intensity a mother protects her child. It will require us to guard our sovereignty like the last flame in a storm. And yes, it will require sacrifice, not the kind of sacrifice they demand from us, where we give up our resources, our dignity, our future. No, this will be the sacrifice of ego, of division, of selfish ambition. It will be the sacrifice of thinking only of today, replaced by the vision of building for tomorrow. When the world looks at us then, they will not see a continent begging for aid. They will see a continent that commands respect. They will see nations that speak with one voice, a people who know their worth, a land whose wealth is finally in the hands of its rightful owners. And when our children walk in that Africa, they will know they are free. Not because someone told them they were, but because they can feel it in the air, in the soil, in the rhythm of the land. That is the Africa we fight for. And we will see it if we have the courage to build it. A vision means nothing if it remains locked in the future. Dreams must have feet. They must walk among us today. We cannot afford to wait for perfect conditions, for the right time, for permission from anyone outside our borders. If our ancestors had waited for permission, none of us would be here. They acted, they resisted, they built, and now it is our turn. This is the hour when history bends. But history will not bend toward us unless we place our hands firmly on it and pull. That means action in the fields, in the classrooms, in the workshops, in the streets. It means choosing to buy what our brothers and sisters produce instead of feeding the economies of those who exploit us. It means speaking our languages, wearing our fabrics, honoring our traditions. Not as symbols of nostalgia, but as living, breathing parts of our future. Do not be fooled. They will try to stop us. They will come with contracts dressed as gifts, with debts dressed as help, with words dressed as friendship. But every time they offer you something that costs you your freedom, remember, no price is worth the soul of a people. We must teach our youth that they are not the future. They are the present. The fight is theirs as much as it is ours. When they pick up a tool, a book, or a skill, they are building Africa brick by brick. Every farm they till, every code they write, every road they pave is an act of defiance against centuries of theft. Unity is not optional, it is survival. One nation alone can be bullied, bribed, or broken. But an Africa united under one purpose becomes a force that cannot be ignored, bought, or subdued. That is why we must speak not as citizens of one country, but as children of one continent. The rivers that divide us are the same rivers that feed us. The borders that separate us were drawn by foreign hands. We must erase them in our hearts long before they vanish from the maps. This is not about hatred for others. It is about love for ourselves. Love so fierce that it refuses to see our people hungry while our lands are rich. Love so deep that it refuses to sell the birthright of our children for any amount of gold. So I say to you, rise now. Rise in your homes, in your markets, in your villages, in your cities. Rise not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Rise like the sun that breaks the night. Rise like the lions our enemies fear we will become. And when we rise together, nothing, no army, no empire, no system will stand in our way. Sovereignty is not a word we speak for pride. It is the shield that protects our very existence. Without sovereignty, we are leaves blown by the winds of others' decisions. With sovereignty, we are the tree whose roots drink deep from the soil of our ancestors, unshaken by storms. For too long, our continent has been treated as a marketplace without owners, a warehouse without guards, a land whose treasures are for anyone to take, as long as they have the power to do so. But those days are ending. We are not tenants here. We are the landlords of this land, and the rent is due. True sovereignty means we decide who walks on our soil, and under what terms. It means no foreign army dictates our security. No foreign bank dictates our economy. No foreign power decides which of our leaders can stand and which must fall. It means we set the rules for our resources, our borders, our trade, and we answer only to our people, not to any council of outsiders. But sovereignty is not handed to you. It must be seized, held, and defended every single day. It demands sacrifice. It demands unity. And it demands that we reject every form of dependency disguised as aid. The aid they give is not aid, it is a leash. The investments they promise are not gifts, they are chains. Every time we allow someone else to feed us, we give them the right to starve us. Every time we allow someone else to protect us, we give them the right to control us. Our sovereignty will be tested. They will say we cannot survive without them. They will say our economies will collapse, our systems will fail, our people will suffer. They will try to frighten us into submission. But remember, the same was said to our ancestors when they dared to resist. Yet they survived, and so will we. Because survival is in our blood, but now, survival is not enough. We must thrive. We must make sovereignty not just a national goal, but a personal duty. Every farmer who grows food for his community is practicing sovereignty. Every craftsman who sells goods made by African hands is defending sovereignty. Every student who learns to solve African problems without waiting for foreign solutions is strengthening sovereignty. And to the youth, you are the inheritors of this shield. If you drop it, you drop the protection of generations. If you carry it, you carry the power to decide Africa's fate. Sovereignty is the heartbeat of freedom. Without it, we are slaves dressed as citizens. With it, we are masters of our destiny. And we will not bargain it away, not for promises, not for pressure, not for anything under the sun. Because this land is ours, and we will stand on it as free people, or not at all. Unity is not a dream, it is a weapon. Alone, we are targets. Together, we are a storm. They have always known this, which is why they work so hard to keep us divided. They drew borders not to organize us, but to break us. They planted flags not to represent us, but to separate us. They told us we were many nations when in truth, we are one people. Our division has been their greatest victory, and it has been our greatest weakness. Because divided, we compete for crumbs from their table. Divided, we fight each other while they take everything from us. Divided, we forget that the blood flowing in our veins comes from the same ancestors, that the soil beneath our feet is connected, and that our struggles are the same whether we speak Swahili, Arabic, Zulu, Wolof, Hausa, or French. But now we are waking up. We are beginning to see through the lies. We are beginning to understand that an injury to one African nation is an injury to all. That when one of us stands, it is a victory for all. And when one of us falls, it is a warning to the rest. Unity does not mean we will all think the same or govern the same. It means we will protect each other's right to decide our own destinies. It means when one of us is attacked, the others will not stand aside. We will close ranks like a wall of stone. It means our armies will not be used to fight our brothers and sisters, but to defend our continent from those who come to take. We must build an Africa where no nation is left behind, where our trade feeds our own economies before it enriches others, where our scientists share knowledge, our engineers share blueprints, and our farmers share seeds. We must build an Africa where a child born in Dakar has the same right to opportunity as a child born in Nairobi, Lagos, or Ouagadougou. The world fears a united Africa because a united Africa is unstoppable. Imagine one currency for over 1 billion people. Imagine one army that no invader dares to challenge. Imagine industries run by African minds, powered by African resources, serving African needs. That is the future they pray we will never see. And that is the future we must create. We do not need permission to unite. We do not need approval to defend each other. We do not need anyone to tell us when the time is right, because the time is now. If we unite, Africa will not just rise, Africa will lead. And we will tell our children not stories of how we were conquered, but of how we stood together and reclaimed everything that was ours. There comes a moment in every generation when history knocks on the door, and the people must decide whether to answer or to hide. My brothers and sisters, that moment is here. It is not coming tomorrow. It is not waiting for our children. It is here, pounding on our doors, demanding an answer. For too long, we have waited for someone else to change our fate. We have looked to the West for rescue, only to find chains. We have waited for the so-called international community, only to find that community does not include us. We have prayed for justice from those who built their wealth on our suffering. But now we know no one is coming to save Africa, except Africa. The wind that carries the dust of our ancestors is moving again. It carries their voices, their courage, their defiance. It whispers in the ears of those willing to listen, stand up, stand together. Stand now, and if you listen closely, you will hear it saying what every generation of freedom fighters has known, that liberty is not given, it is taken. We must be ready to face storms without bending. We must build nations so strong that no enemy can weaken them from within. And we must teach our children not to envy the wealth of others, but to build wealth from their own soil, their own sweat, their own brilliance. They will tell us it is impossible. They will call us dreamers, rebels, troublemakers. They will try to frighten us with their armies, their sanctions, their lies. But remember this, the chains they fear the most are not the ones on our hands, but the ones they placed on our minds. Break those, and we are unstoppable. The road ahead will be hard. Some of us may not see the victory we fight for, but the struggle is not about us alone. It is about the generations yet unborn, the children who will one day walk free, under an African sky unshadowed by exploitation. And so I say to you, rise like lions. Rise in your streets, in your schools, in your farms, in your parliaments. Rise in your hearts. Rise until every corner of this continent beats with the same rhythm. The rhythm of freedom, the rhythm of dignity, the rhythm of Africa standing tall. We are not begging for a place in the world. We are claiming it, and we will take it not as servants, but as equals, not as victims, but as victors. This is our time, our fight, our destiny. And when the world writes the story of this century, it will say Africa rose, and the world could not stop her. If you want, I can now stitch all 9 expanded points together into one seamless, 30-minute cinematic speech so it flows like a single powerful performance. That will give you a complete, polished masterpiece ready for voiceover.